Perfect. Okay. So you guys, this is a special live call that we thought would be really helpful. And I think with talking to a lot of you guys with what your struggles, like what you anticipate being some roadblocks, it seemed like 80 to 85% of you guys all kind of said the meal planning. And most of us are doing either 21-day fix or fix extreme or even PIO, which is very similar to 21-day fix, except without the colored containers. She gives you exact measurements, but it's exactly the same thing. So this is going to be very helpful for all of you. And I'm going to have this recorded, and I will put this in our team page so that everybody can see it in our challenge page. Okay, so this is sort of some tips that I use for myself with planning, and then we're going to go ahead and use those and actually plan a couple days. All right, so get your pens and paper ready. Number 1, plan your dinners first. The reason I say that is simply because isn't that when we almost always are eating with family? And you really don't want to be cooking 3 and 4 dinners, right? Like you want to sort of have something that for the most part everyone can eat, minus a few tweaks. And so you really want to plan around your dinner first, because you don't want to plan your breakfast and lunch and then get to dinner and realize I don't have enough yellow containers left, or I don't have enough of something that you would have liked to have used in dinner. And so you're either not eating, making more work for yourself, or you're eating too much of one particular food group, okay? Number 2, then you want to think about, if this is something pertinent to that day, any meals you might eat out. Okay, so if you're at work and you know you have a work meeting and it's one of those situations where you truly cannot bring your lunch and you're going to eat out, or you're meeting family for dinner lunch or for breakfast lunch, goodness gracious, for a birthday lunch or something like that, I'm telling you it's late, then you want to plan that out as well. Figure out where you're going to go. Look online if you need to, and plan out if you know there's going to be a little extra of something. Again, you can plan around a little extra treat or whatever, and you can go lighter in the day to add it in. And then you can literally finish your day going, you know what? I ate out, but yet I stayed within my containers, right? And feel good about it and not feel like you blew the whole day because you didn't plan ahead. And then number 3 is definitely scheduling in your Shakeology. So making sure that's part of your day. That's a lot easier to schedule in, isn't it? But again, I guess the point is you don't want to forget that in your day. So make sure that gets somewhere that's convenient for you. And then this final step of that aspect, number 4, would be to fill in accordingly. And I say that because you really want to fill in those major points, and then you can put in little things in there. I've used the example before. If you have a big jar and you have grapefruits and you have marbles and you have sand, and if we all decide we're going to do, if we all put the grapefruits in first and then the marbles and then the sand, you get it all in the jar. But if you start putting the sand in and then the marbles, you'll never fit the grapefruit in. You should try it. And I've heard that used as an example for time management as well with planning your goals. It's the same idea with this. Plan the big stuff first, and it's a lot easier to have a quick snack. If you need to have a veggie and a protein that you've got to squeeze in, that's a lot easier to plan than a meal that you know you've got 4 different food groups to try to squeeze in after the fact. So I hope that makes sense. Some tips then as you're planning and preparing. Once you've made a list, once you've figured out, like we're going to in a moment, the meals you're going to have, and you know what the ingredients are at the store you need to get. When you come home, cut your vegetables. It is huge time saver. And the greens, I think from what I've seen with myself and also with challengers for the last 2 years doing this meal plan, if they're going to skip anything, it's almost always the greens. It just is. It's so much easier to eat a waffle than it is to eat plain lettuce, right? Or whatever. It just is, right? So, and that, if I could tell you anything, don't skip your green containers. That's going to give you the biggest results. It just is. You're going to feel better. So cut up those vegetables so that when you go to cook, It is super easy to do if you want a quick snack and you need a green that you don't want to cook, like raw peppers. Jicama, Jicama, is a fabulous vegetable. You don't cook it. You just can peel it, or I chop it in slices and then chop the edges off and either put it in sticks or cubes. My children all love it. It's wonderful in salads instead of croutons, and it has it's juicy and crispy and slightly sweet. So you could even eat it without any dip. I mean, it's delicious. So having things like that on hand already chopped makes it so much faster to grab a quick snack or to add to a meal when you know you need those extra greens. Okay? So they're easy grab and go. Another tip, cook once, eat twice. The principle of that there is cook bigger batches of things, of what you know you would normally need for one meal for yourself or for your family, double or triple that so that you've got an extra meal or two the next day or so. So whether it's lunch or maybe it's another dinner, whatever it is, it's already ready to go. Okay, it's just a matter of heat and go, or you could take it with you and heat up at work. Okay, so you're not making extra work. It's no more work to throw in 2 extra chicken breasts than it is, to make the 4. If you make 6, it's no different. Okay, another thing would be if you can't eat all your containers, and Stephanie asked me this yesterday, and it happens, right? Because if you're truly eating according to plan, I think it's hard to get all the containers in. For most people, we're so used to eating calorie-dense foods and less of them that when you have nutrient-dense foods and they're not as calorically high, you get to eat more. But your tummy is sort of like, I don't know that I can eat all this stuff, right? If you're going to skip anything, either alternate what you skip or just try to get a little bit of everything. So like don't eat all your yellows and eat like one green, right? So if you're going to either cut back and not be able to eat everything, if there was any food group or any color container I would recommend you back off on, it's the yellow. I will tell you, and I told you I'm going gung-ho with this program, but with my body, I don't tolerate the yellows very well. I had rice and beans. I went to Qdoba and I had them. I was a pain in the butt. I had them put everything in a separate container so that when I got home, I could measure it out. And she kind of looked at me and I was like, don't ask. And I told her eventually and she just was like, oh, cool. But basically I had beans and rice and it ripped my stomach up. I don't do well. So I'm trying to eat some, and like I do almond milk in my shake. So I count that. I do a half a cup every shake each day. So the way it works out is you can do 8 ounces, like, is it twice a week that you can count 3 times a week? And so the way I look at it, I count a yellow Monday and Thursday, and I just consistently use a half a cup of almond milk, unsweetened almond milk in my shake. So aside from my almond milk and the odd little bit like that, I don't eat a lot of yellows, and it's just because I do better, more paleo. So I really am trying to get everything else in and staying on track with my healthy fats, because I could definitely go over that eating paleo. But I'm sticking to everything. I'm just not eating as many yellows. So if you're going to skip anything, I would say yellows, and really try to get in your greens and your reds. And of course, you only get 1 blue and 1 orange. So plan ahead for treats. If you're somebody, and this is something we'll probably talk about in the challenge, we've done it before. If you're somebody who really is good with moderation, like you can have a cookie and be okay with a cookie. If you can do that once a day or once every other day and you're cool with it, then by all means, make sure you make some of those healthy, 21-day fix treats. And I'm going to talk about this book in a minute, Fix8, which has some fabulous healthy treats in there. And I do make some of those. Plan ahead, make those and have them in your house ready, and know that you're going to have a little treat in the afternoon, and that's your snack, and it's usually a yellow, right? Some yellows or some oranges or teaspoons, and you count it in. And that way it's all part of your plan. You feel like you're cheating, but you're not, and it's a good thing. If you're somebody who can't stop at one treat, don't make them, or make them and freeze them separately so that you have to take one out in order to eat it, but it's like the rest you're not going to gnaw on or you'll break your teeth off kind of thing, right? So know yourself. If you're one of those people that has to avoid chocolate chips and all that stuff, and you go to make a cookie and you're going to, I can't stop at one, then either don't make them or make them and freeze them individually. So those are just some quick tips on the snacks. And I know that well because that's how I am. And so this is just what's helped me. Let's see, I mentioned the almond milk. Okay, we're going to jump into planning here. But real quick, there was a couple restaurants that, again, this week, the kids begged to go eat with Grandma and Grandpa tonight. And I didn't plan for it. However, I looked, okay, I was going to do the grandma's tomato sauce here, and I was going to do spaghetti squash. And it didn't happen because they wanted to go out. So I went to Bob Evans, and I had 2 grilled chicken breasts because I had enough room for my reds. Matter of fact, I still need to eat one yet. But I had 2 chicken breasts, so I cut those up, put those in the containers, and I had double batch of broccoli. Instead of a potato, I just went ahead and had extra broccoli for more veggies. And I brought with me, I'm such a dork, but I brought with me in a little container 2 teaspoons of grass-fed butter. Because I believe it's, now I know the butter, I don't think butter is on the teaspoons, but grass-fed butter is wonderful when you're eating veggies because all of the antioxidants and the vitamins in those vegetables are fat soluble. And if you don't eat a healthy fat, whether it's coconut oil, olive oil, grass-fed butter, with your veggies, your body is not absorbing those nutrients. So I will always have some form of healthy fat. And so I measured out and I counted them toward my teaspoons. And I had 2 teaspoons of grass-fed butter that I brought with me. Do not eat Bob Evans butter. That is not real butter and it's not grass-fed. And so I did plan that ahead. But I was able to still manage to get pretty close to what I was going to have for dinner in containers. It was just a completely different meal. That makes sense? And then Qdoba, I did the same thing. I called it a deconstructed naked burrito. And I just had it all separate. I asked for tons of lettuce and cilantro and pico. So I had like 2.5 things of like veggies and then the chicken. And I was able to still measure it out and eat it. So those are just a couple places you can go and still make it work. So here we go. I cannot say enough good things about this book. I mean, there are a lot of healthy recipes out there, but when you're following a program like The Fix, unless you're really good at deconstructing the recipe and taking it apart and figuring out each little component, like if you're doing chili, it's kind of hard to figure out how do you count this, right? And so what do? You end up not making anything. You make everything plain, and then by the middle of week 2, you're bored to death and you quit, right? I mean, I've done it a lot. So when I bought this summer, I have been a lot more prone to eating this way than I was before this book came out because there's only a few recipes in the manual here. And I've been in certain groups where they share recipes and those are fine, but I'm just a girl who likes to have something in my hands. And this book is spectacular. I will tell you, there's like one recipe I think I tried in here that wasn't up my alley, but a lot of stuff in here is really good. So what I'm going to do, and you can kind of write this, and I don't know if the board is going to work or not, but I'll try. So what did I say first? Plan your dinner first, okay? So we'll say it's Monday, and I am going to plan dinner with my family, and I'm going to choose a meal that we eat like once a week, and this is truth. Even when I wasn't doing The Fix, I tried this recipe. We loved it. We eat it every week, at least once a week, okay? It's called, I'll show you the picture first, steak fajitas, okay? And there is red pepper flakes in it. I don't use those because my family won't eat it if it's spicy, so don't worry about that. If you don't like spice, take out the red pepper flakes and it's not spicy, okay? But it's still tasty. So all you need to know for the purposes of meal planning, see if I can do this here. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to get fancy here. Okay, so we'll say this is Monday. I've got breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. Now, you may not structure your day with 6 mini meals, where it's breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. You may do 5 meals. You may do 4. Up to you. I'm just going to do it this way. And because I think with all the food, if you can spread it out this way, it's just easier to get it all in. Okay. So my dinner is going to be the steak fajitas. Okay. And I would usually then, if it's a recipe, I'll put whatever the page is. So when I go to make my grocery list, I just flip right to the recipe and pull out what I need. Okay. So with the steak fajitas, you're going to get 1 green, 1 yellow. If you do a fajita, like an actual tortilla, if you don't want to use tortillas, you could use a lettuce, big old like romaine lettuce or whatever. I've done that. My husband hates that. He's like, I don't want to eat it on grass. So he's not big on lettuce wraps, but I like them if they're crispy romaine. They're really good. Or you can add it on rice instead of wrapping it. If you'd prefer, like basmati rice is really a nice option, or quinoa. You're still getting a yellow. You just measure it out in your yellow container, or you can just stick to the 6-inch corn tortilla, and you get 2 fajitas is the serving, and it'll tell you it serves 4, 2 fajitas each. Okay. So for your purposes, for your counting, it's 1 green, 1 yellow, 1 red, and 1 teaspoon, and that's your healthy oils. Okay. So then the next thing that you would do is, okay, say for example, I'm going to have a lunch meeting. Okay. We'll use the examples I gave you before. So we're going to have a lunch meeting out, and oh, I don't know, we're going to McAllister's. That's another place I didn't mention that you can kind of do well. We're going to McAllister's, and what I order, this may not be up your alley. I'm just going to tell you what I do for me, and you can do accordingly. I will order a warm chicken breast, because you can get cold chicken strips, and that's not enticing by itself, but like warm chicken breast. So I would have chicken, and then I order a double batch of mixed vegetables with no butter, because it's really not butter what they use. It's like margarine slop. So I don't put that on there, but if I want, I can bring with me real butter, and butter does just fine in a container in your purse. You don't have to, it'll last just fine. So I would do 2 steamed veggies, no butter, but then I will bring my own butter. So maybe I would do 2 teaspoons of butter. Now that, or coconut oil or olive oil, if you just want to put it on there too. Now I'm also a dork, and I bring my own salt. I don't use table salt. I use Himalayan salt, Himalayan rock salt. So I bring my own salt. I know I look like an idiot. Like I go into this, and I have like this massive purse, and I'm pulling out butter and salt, but it's all good. Okay. So that's going to give me, depending on how much chicken, that's probably going to give you 1 red. Okay. And I bring my containers. It's a neat, if you're a coach, it's a cool conversation piece too. And people start seeing you like cutting up your food and putting them in a container. I dump it back out on my plate, but I'm like, I just need to measure. And it's a good conversation. So it's usually 1 red, 2 green, and then again, depending if we end up needing the 2 things of butter, yeah, that'll be your 2 teaspoons. Now your shake. For me, 99% of the time I do my shake in the morning. So I would have my Shakeology. I'm going to do it with a 1/2 cup. AM is almond milk. Okay. I use unsweetened vanilla almond milk. And I'm a Boost girl, so I use my Power Greens, and I don't think that they count as a green, but in my mind, I feel like I'm always getting an extra green, because I don't eat that stuff by itself. So I know it's got to be healthy, right? Because I'm sure it's nasty by itself. But I do the Power Greens, which is just a tiny little scoop, and you don't have to count it, but I add the Power Greens in there, and I add the Focused Energy, because that stuff is like that's gold. I tell you, I love that Focused Energy. And so I do that, and then I just add my water and ice. That doesn't need to count. So the Shakeology is 1 red. The almond milk, because it's Monday, I'm going to count it as a yellow. All right, so that's 1 yellow. Now you've got your main meals planned out. As you can see so far, I've got 3. So if I were to do this up here, I've got green. I'm putting in my container colors: green, purple, yellow. I got to think. No, I'll do red next. Sorry, I try to keep them in order of like the size. Red, yellow, blue, orange, and then teaspoons. Okay, so right now we've got 1, 2, 3 green. We've got no purple so far. 1, 2, 3 red. And the yellow, we have 1, 2. We don't have any blue yet. We don't have any orange yet. And we have 1, 2, 3 teaspoons. Okay. Now, for me, just so you know, like my goals here, I need 5 green, 3 purple, 5 red, 4 yellow, which I never get close to that, but 1 blue, 1 orange, 5 teaspoons. Okay, that's my goals. And you guys are all going to be different with that, chances are. Okay, so I need purple. So we need to start kind of like plugging in some fruit. Okay, so let's say for snack, we're going to have, oh, I don't know, berries. Okay, we'll have a cup of berries. Okay, so, and whether it's raspberries, strawberries, it can be mixed berries, it can be pomegranates, whatever. Okay, so berries. And I like Greek yogurt. I'm not supposed to really have it with my dairy sensitivity, but I do sometimes have yogurt. Plain Greek yogurt, I add my own stevia to it. I use Stevia from stevia.com. It's the purest stevia I've found so far. That's what I use, but whatever. And then you could do a cup of Greek, or the red of Greek yogurt. And you can add a little stevia to it to sweeten it, throw your berries in. And so Greek yogurt, that's going to give you 1 purple and 1 red. Okay, so we get another red and I get a purple. Now, another snack, I love grapefruit. I will be known to eat an entire grapefruit just because I like them so well and they go down real fast. So, you know, or you could do a half a grapefruit here. And then I'll throw in another fruit, spread them out at night, which I'm actually about to have because I adore pomegranates. I'm going to have a purple cup of pomegranate seeds. And they're easy to just eat. You know, you don't have to have anything with them. Like, I love them. So I'm going to put pomegranates here. And I just spelled that wrong. Pomegranates. Pomegranates. Oh, for goodness sake. You get the point. Okay. So that's going to give me 1 purple, 1 purple. So now I've got my purples taken care of, okay? That's done. So I still have a blue and an orange. Now, something that you can do, you start thinking about, okay, what can I add in? So this is where you kind of pick your main meals. If you had a salad somewhere, that's where your salad dressing would be. I didn't have a salad today. So what are some other options? If you've got peanuts, peanuts can be counted as an orange, okay? Olives, I love olives. I love black olives. I keep a jar of them in my house all the time. So sometimes you want to think, okay, I'm not going to eat olives and pomegranates. Like, that's kind of a nasty combination in my mind. And I wouldn't really put them with like yogurt and berries either. But I would eat olives with a steak fajita. Kind of salty, right? So sometimes you just do this. You just throw in stuff and it doesn't have to be elegant. So I'm going to have 10, I know for a fact that 10 olives, 10 medium olives is an orange. Okay, so there's my orange, done. Let's see. Oh, you know what I'm going to do here? Instead of a half a grapefruit, I'm going to put 1 green apple because we need more teaspoons and 2 teaspoons of my favorite crunchy almond butter. Okay, so that's going to give me 1 fruit still, 1 purple, and 2 teaspoons. Okay, so now my teaspoons are done. My fruit's done. So I'm short one red, which is protein. I'm short 2 yellow and 1 blue. Well, I know with the blue, with the fajitas, I could have guacamole or avocado if I wanted to add it there. Or I'm a huge nut fan and I keep a lot of raw nuts. So I could do, I think it's 10 pecan halves is a blue. So maybe with my pomegranates. This is how my little salad came about the other day that I made because I needed all this stuff and I threw it all together and it was actually really good. So 10 pecan halves, that's going to give me 1 blue. Okay, so that's done. Let's see here. So I'm missing a red and a green. So here's one thing you can do if you wanted. You could, let's see, what would be good? Maybe with Shakeology, not necessarily with it, but later in the day or somewhere in around here, you could have some cut up veggies, like just some basic cut up raw veggies. 10 baby carrots is a green. You could do a cup of like colored bell peppers. Again, get them, slice them so that you can just grab them and go. And those are things literally you can munch on while you're making dinner, right? Or on the way to work. sometimes you're eating it and it doesn't necessarily have to be like an awesome combination with your meal. It can be in between while you're doing stuff when you want something to munch on. So maybe down here, I might do some extra, I'll just put raw veggies somewhere. It can be somewhere, anywhere in there. That's going to give me 2 green. I'm going to do 2 of those. Okay, so that gets my green in for the day. And then you might look and say, you know what? I'm going to make sure I get 2 chicken for lunch. So that's going to give me 2 red, which will then make that 5. So this would be okay for me because I'm not going to worry about filling up my yellow. So that would work for me. If you went somewhere, well, you could get a potato. If you wanted a potato at McAllister's with your veggies and chicken, you could order a potato here, and you'd probably end up with 2 yellows here because they're big. Just cut them up and put them in there, and then that would give you 2 yellows, and that would knock that out. So you see how I did that? Like, you plug in what you know for sure, the big stuff, and then your snacks, you kind of figure out some combinations that you like. And once you figure out a combination that you like, you don't have to think about it again. So you may have a couple days where you plan like this, and then you kind of do it for a little while. And then maybe the next week you get tired of that lunch or that snack and you change it with something else. So I only used 1 recipe from here. Another option, excuse me, is, for example, we're almost out of time, so I'm going to go quick. I'm not going to do a whole nother day, but I'm just going to show you. Like, I'll tell you one of these things I love. These are called almond chocolate protein squares. Hang on here. Cancel that so I can see you guys. So these are chocolate almond protein squares. They are amazing. I make them and then I keep them frozen. I cut them and I keep them frozen separately. And those snacks, they're a half a yellow and a half a red and 2 teaspoons. And when I make these, I budget this in every day. They're really good. They're healthy. They fill me up because of the protein that's in them and the healthy fats. And there's a little bit of dark chocolate drizzled on top. So it's filling. It's delicious, but I don't go crazy. And because I freeze them, I'm able to take them out in portions. And so you get 16 squares, which is nice. And I just think they're great. So as an option there, that would fill in a snack, and that would give me more yellow as well. If you wanted 2, that would give you, if you ate 2 of them, that would give you 1 yellow, 1 red, and it would give you 4 teaspoons. So there wouldn't be any peanut butter or something that day. And you'd make sure what you cooked with would be, very light oil, that kind of thing. So another breakfast you could do would be eggs. You could do eggs and a piece of fruit. That would give you a red and a yellow, a red and a purple, and maybe a teaspoon or a half teaspoon if you needed it to cook your eggs. So do you see how that works? And then using the app, there is an app, and I think I plugged my phone in. Stephanie, can you unmute yourself? Do I have to unmute you? There you go. It. What's that app called specifically from Beachbody?
Here, I'll look it up on Facebook. I think I had it there.
Is it 21 Day Fitness Tracker?
Yes.
21 Day Fitness Tracker. It is purple, and the font does look like the 21 Day Fix font. Because there is a lot out there that is not endorsed by Beachbody, and they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But Stephanie showed me that one, and it was not the one I was using, and I really liked it. So you may want to try it, because even if you don't have your book with you and you're out and about, you pull up that app and you can go into where it says containers, and it'll tell you the foods that are under what container. So it's fabulous. And it's free app you can download. I know you can get it for the iPhone. I know Malia was trying to look for it, and she has I don't know if it's Samsung, but whatever, Android. She has an Android, and so she couldn't find it, but I'm not sure why. So guys, check it out. If you can get it, I do recommend it. And then if you don't want to do that, you can also print out these sheets or photocopy the back of your book, and it has the same thing. And it's the same thing we just did. And what I do, what I was doing by hand, was I was writing very small across from each meal what I was eating in abbreviations and then putting in the numbers and planning that out a day or two in advance. I'm not a really good plan out the entire week. That takes a lot of discipline. And I do it sometimes, but then you get it to the point where you really, you just start to know, I like this meal. This is what it works out to be. And it's a lot less work. The first time you do it is a lot of work, probably an hour and a half, to be honest. But once you go through and you know certain meals, you plan out your whole week and you know what meals your family likes or doesn't like, the next week you're going, I'm going to make that, that, and that. Didn't like that so well. That didn't work out. I'm going to put in this meal, this meal. And before you know it, your grocery list is just second nature. I keep a running list on another whiteboard on my fridge. Whenever I think of something, I write it down, and it just makes it super easy. I take a picture of it on my phone before I leave and I go to the store. Yes. So Stephanie, you feel free to unmute yourself, Stephanie, if you want to share.
No, Susie was asking how I like it. She made a point that it's probably easier than writing it down. It's great for me for at work. I always have my phone with me as I get snacks, as I make my lunch. I just punch it in, and it tells you how many you have left, which I love. Yep. So throughout the day, you see, I only have one red left.
Exactly. Great. You set up your parameters of what you're supposed to eat each time. So it doesn't start with a definite, everybody must eat this. You put in what category you're in for each color, so containers, if it's 4 or if it's 5, you put that in there so that as you go through your meals, you put it in and it subtracts, like Stephanie said. And then the other option that you have too is there's a place to write a note for each day. So if you physically want to write in what you ate, you can type that in that page and you can keep that. And then if you wanted to take a screenshot of that and put that on our food log, when we have our food log each day, you've already written it in, just take a screenshot and post it. So it's not extra typing for you each day. So it's nice. And then you can go back and go, this was a great week. What did I have? You'll still have it written down, but visually it's nice to be able to see the containers each day. Excuse me. And it tells you what workout to do. If you forget what workout to do, it's in there. You don't need to have your schedule in front of you. So it rocks and it's free. Does anyone have any questions? Because we have literally got less than a minute before it shuts us off. If I shut off, it's not because I'm being rude. It just goes off. We get 40 minutes and that's it. Any questions? All right, you guys. If you have any questions, post them on the page because I'm sure if you have them, other people will have them. Thanks, Susie. I think it was good. I'll make sure I get this when the recording processes. I'll get it on our page, okay? All right, you guys. Sleep well. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.